Hi, welcome everyone. This is Talk to the Doc. We are so excited to be here with you. This is a rebroadcast, our first one. I apologize that it's all my fault in Texas. Alex's internet is fine, but we live in the country. And so we're not always able to broadcast live, which I hate. But you know, that'll change one day, and we'll fix it after COVID. But we want to welcome you. And tonight I want to welcome again my daughter, Mrs. Rodriguez, Pastor OT, who's going to be joining us today to talk about some really important things regarding your sons and daughters special ed policies and procedures. You want to say hi, Al?
Yes, hello everyone. I'm glad to be back. I've had a lot of great experiences being on here, talking with you parents, anyone out there that's looking for resources for the IEP process or whatever you call the IEP in your state. But I'm happy to be here, so thank you for having me.
Well, thank you. You know, Alex is really busy. As I said, she's an occupational therapist. She's a pastor. She's a mother of a 10-month-old and soon to be an 11-month-old. And so we are just, no, soon to be 10-month-old.
It's flying by.
It's flying by.
Soon to be 10-month-old, yes.
Yes, okay. So anyway, the 17th of each month, right? So
Yes.
I'm just so, this is such a privilege for her to be with us, to take time away from her family and all her obligations. So I really do appreciate it. So let's get started. We know that the IEP process for parents is very confusing, frustrating, disappointing. And we've talked about the importance of your son and daughter's goals and objectives. So when you get out your IEP document, the most important thing on that document, besides your signature, meaning that you agree to everything, is the goals and objectives, which is the roadmap for your son or daughter in the next school year or annually. So our children's goals and objectives, as we know, drive accommodations, they drive services and supports. So if we don't have goals and objectives that are easy to understand and are specific, and we'll talk about SMART goals in a minute, then it's going to be difficult to get to the next level for our kids. So since this crazy pandemic, it's extremely important that we understand what our goals and objectives are for our kids, and we are able to help them obtain these, because a lot of times right now it's kind of just on us, besides, you know, a couple Zoom calls. So I've worked with highly intelligent individuals who were unsure of what some of their goals and objectives were, and they feel kind of intimidated, even though they're, like I said, extremely accomplished individuals. But when you get to that IEP meeting or ARD or whatever you call it, in whatever state you're in, you're sitting there as a parent, and I've been on both sides. It's very intimidating. So tonight we're going to talk about what a good goal and objective looks like, and what you can do as your child's advocate to ensure that you are doing everything you can to help them reach their goals and objectives. So I'm going to start just briefly, and then Alex is going to come along beside me as we look at your sons and daughters' goals and objectives and what we can obtain from team members to help us reach these goals. So the best written goals are SMART goals. And I think I'm going to have Al talk about that's so crazy how I just always call you Al, Mrs. Rodriguez.
Didn't realize it till now. You can call me Al.
Hey, Al, you can call me Al. I'm going to have her go through what does a SMART goal look like, and then she's going to introduce a SMART goal, and I'm going to be the Vanna White and kind of show you how that's done. Okay, Mrs. Rodriguez?
Yes, so SMART is the acronym that we're going to be using today to describe what a good goal looks like we just talked about. And so parents, if you're on here watching, I encourage you to get your notepad out and write out specifically what we're talking about, so that when you're looking at your IEP, you can check off for every one of your goals, okay, is it S, is it M, is it A? We're going to go through all of those. So starting with S in SMART is the goal needs to be specific. What this means is that it is specific in a variety of ways. It's specific to your child. It's a significant goal that they need to be working on at their level, right? You know, we have all these academic goals within the school system, but how are we going to tailor a goal to where your child is at, right? So that's how it needs to be specific. Specific also refers to what team members are responsible for tracking this goal. Yeah. So you will have a section in your IEP document on that goal page, hopefully, that says persons responsible or something along those lines, and you'll have a colon and it'll say teacher, it'll say education specialist, it will say, it could say even like counselor, like a psych counselor, or OT, PT. But it's really important to know who is tracking this goal, okay? And also specific is in reference to, you know, what is it something that, oh no, that's, sorry. You know what? I'm getting mixed up. That is specific. We're going to keep it right there. Yep. For S, that is your first thing that you want to look for. For M in SMART, the next thing is it needs to be measurable. So when we look at what that means, a lot of the times, this is a good example of what a good goal wouldn't be. But oftentimes I'll see a goal that'll say, you know, Abigail will be able to write one sentence with 80% accuracy with minimal prompts. So, you know, it sounds good at first, right? Okay, you want them to write a sentence. But when you're saying minimal prompts, that's very vague. To me, minimal prompts could be 1 or 2 prompts. To the teacher, it could be 3 or 4 prompts. And then what kind of prompts? Are you talking about a verbal prompt, a physical prompt, a gesture, a visual prompt? So when you're looking at a measurable goal, you want to see how many prompts specifically and what kind of prompts that it's going to take for this child to complete this goal. Also, you're looking at accuracy. So you may have heard me mention, you know, we want Abigail to write one sentence with 80% accuracy. That percentage is very specific, and that is what it means when, you know, we're talking about a measurable goal. There's a specific number we want to reach. It could also be trials, 3 out of 4 trials, 2 out of 4 trials, you know, for how to measure if that goal is being retained or not. Those are all ways to make a goal measurable, and those are very important. Attainable is our next letter A, and attainable again relates to that, like, specificity of the student. You know, we can write this great goal, but we need to really take into consideration where the child is at, and based on that, do we feel that this goal is going to be met by the next annual school year, right? Or by the next annual IEP date. And then within that, we have benchmarks. So a little breakdown of the goal that should be every trimester, or I don't know how your school does it, but you should be getting progress reports to see how much progress they're making on that specific goal, to see if it is attainable or not, if they're meeting it. But yeah, this is a big one too, because if a goal isn't attainable, then it's very easy for a student, the teacher, the parent to lose that motivation to work on it. Mm-hmm. And a big part of goals is you want it to be motivating for your student. You want them to feel like, oh, hey, I'm making progress and I think I can actually do this. That's a major thing you want to look for with that. So next on our SMART list is relevant. The goal needs to be relevant on a couple different levels. So it needs to be relevant to the student. Again, that motivation piece. You know, I have, like, for example, this is a good example of this one. I have a student who, like, he's a preschooler and he does not want to do anything with pencil paper. But academically, he needs to learn to write his name, right? So in the goal, we put that the student would be able to write his name, and then we stated, to make it relevant, using multi-sensory approaches. Yeah. So we're not asking him to do paper pencil, we're asking, can he trace his name in a little sand tray? Can he use Play-Doh to make letters?
Shaving cream.
Yes, absolutely. So that was very relevant for him, right? Also, when you look at relevance in a goal, it has to fit with the family values. Does the parent, do you agree with this goal? Do you see that it's important for your child? Again, if, you know, I as an educator think something's important, but then my parent, they don't think that it is, I'm not going to get much, you know, reciprocity or feedback with that goal. And again, it just all goes back to the IEP process is a team effort. Yeah. So everyone needs to be in agreement, on the same page with what's important for this student.
And I want to stop you right there.
Oh yes, go ahead.
When we talk about relevance, if you as a parent don't see that this goal is relevant and you're like, I don't understand why my child is having to do this right now, ask the team members. Ask them why this needs to happen. We're going to talk in a minute about a goal, and something that Al had brought up in our last discussion. We're going to be talking about cutting and why cutting is important. And to a parent, you may say, you know, I don't really care all that much right now that my child learns to cut specifically. But like Al's going to bring up, bilateral coordination is important for a whole host of other reasons, and it is the foundation that other skills are built on. So if you don't understand why we are doing this right now, goals and objectives, believe it or not, therapists, teachers do not often make up these goals and objectives on their own. We actually had a system in which we would type in the test scores and the age of the child, and it would give us a whole bank of goals and objectives to select from, with the understanding of it's these bricks in a wall that you're building so that the child can reach a specific level, right? You want to make a comment on that, Al? We're not just pulling these out of the hat. These are research-based goals and objectives.
Yes, yes, definitely. And yeah, I think, again, there's power in asking questions. So again, like we said, if there's, you know, if you're wondering why we're, you know, presenting this goal, or you know, what's the significance behind it, I encourage you to ask, because it may not be readily apparent, and you might learn something that actually might interest you and motivate you more to help your child work on that. But yes, that's a great point to bring up for sure.
Okay, timely.
Timely is our last section in our SMART acronym, and that's just in reference to, again, is this child going to be able to realistically meet this goal by their annual IEP date? And then again, we break that down into benchmark dates. So every quarter, every trimester, they should be able to give you a progress report on how the student is doing with that goal. And the thing about a goal being timely, and this is something that I kind of wish more parents knew, is that so often what'll happen is, you know, we'll go a whole year, and at the end, at their IEP date, these goals are presented, and okay, Johnny didn't meet this goal, didn't meet that goal, didn't meet that goal. And, you know, there's checks and balances along the way. That's why you have these objectives, because if you get a progress report back and there should be a section for your, you know, objectives, and if it says, okay, Johnny's not meeting this goal, you have the right to contact your IEP team and say, hey, I noticed that Johnny's not meeting this IEP goal. Do we need to revise the goal? What is going on that he's not meeting this goal? What can we do to help him out in this area? I think a lot of the times parents don't know that an IEP goal can be changed any time in the year.
Yep.
So if, you know, if a goal is maybe too high, sometimes as like as an occupational therapist, I'll write a goal and it might seem kind of lofty, but I think, well, you know what, I'm giving it my best guess that this child, he might be able to do it. So I'm going to kind of reach for the stars here. But then as we go through the year, you know, I'm seeing he's not meeting that goal. That's when we can reconvene and kind of come up with a new goal. The opposite is also true. If your child meets the goal with flying colors way before the IEP date, we can write a new goal before the annual time. And so that we're not just kind of, you know, swimming around waiting for the IEP, we can work on new skills. So that's something important to bring up about timely, but that is basically what makes up a good IEP goal. So I'm going to list it again.
Yeah, let's review it, Al. Okay. SMART goal. Give me an S.
SMART goal. S is for specific.
Give me an M.
Measurable.
Give me an A.
Attainable.
Give me an R.
Relevant.
Give me a T.
And timely.
Yes. So those are your SMART goals. So take a look at your goals and objectives. Make sure they're SMART. If they're missing an element, contact your team and say, hey, there's no dates. You know, I did an IEP. Often parents will call, especially if I have a relationship with them and I've known them for years. I had a parent call one time and she sent me her goals. There were no benchmarks and they didn't have a date on the annual goal. And I'm like, okay, So I encouraged her, okay, if you don't want to call them, this is what you put in your email, that your goals have to have dates. You know, sometimes teachers get busy, therapists get busy, they get a little, and not my daughter or myself, but you know, you want to make sure that these goals are written with whatever they need. And I just want to say something else. With the goal itself, as you're getting these benchmarks, the benchmarks may not be too lofty. Your kid just may need additional motivation. So that's what an OT does. And we're going to move right into a specific goal right now. And Alex is going to explain kind of the questions you can ask and how you can motivate your child when they seemingly do not want to meet a goal, and the instruction and materials a teacher can give you. So now we're going to start with a very SMART goal that Alex wrote. So go ahead.
Oh, all right. So I'm going to kind of break this down. Again, one of the reasons why we're doing this is that we realize that IEPs can have a lot of jargon and a lot of like, okay, what does that really mean? So as I'm reading this, you know, if this is intimidating for you, don't worry about it. We're going to break it down, okay? So this is a typical goal that you would see maybe for a kindergartner. I wanted to choose one for like a younger child because I thought that might be who's watching here, but this could definitely be for an older child as well. But really, we're just looking at the SMART elements in this goal, okay? So I have this goal that says by, and then it gives the specific IEP date. Let's say it's by March 7th, 2021, Abigail will be able to cut out a 5-inch square, okay, within 1/4 of an inch of the boundaries. And in order to do that, she's going to have bolded lines. She'll be given 1 physical prompt, 2 verbal prompts, and we want her to be able to do it in 3 out of 4 opportunities as measured by teacher and therapist observation and documentation. Okay, so that's a lot of numbers, a lot of words. So let's go through why this goal is a SMART goal. So first off, it is specific because as you can tell with all the measurements in there, we have looked at this child and said, you know what, okay, they're able to cut out a straight line, they're able to cut around corners. So the next goal up from that, they need to be able to cut out a square, okay, a shape. And you know, when I saw them cut out the shape, they were within a 1/2 inch of the boundary line, and they needed like a lot of prompting to do that. So that's where we get the, I want to be able to do it within 1/4 of an inch, like that picture there that we see. And then with a little more independence. So that's why you see the specific prompting, right? This goal is measurable for many reasons. All the numbers that you see on there, all the measurements, that's exactly what makes it measurable. I'm not talking about a big square, a 3-inch square. I'm talking specifically about a 5-inch square within 1/4 of an inch of the boundary line. And then the prompting is what makes it measurable too. You have the 3 different prompts in there, and then the 3 out of 4 opportunities. Okay, so I give some wiggle room for error, which is fine, but those 3 out of 4 opportunities is what also makes it measurable. Okay.
And let's talk about the prompts. So a physical prompt, Al, what's the difference between a physical and a verbal prompt?
So for this specific goal, a physical prompt would be something like, I'm either placing the scissors in their hand to start off, because maybe they have trouble just knowing how to hold the scissors, or it could be, you know, when they get to the corner, they need help turning the paper and to keep cutting, right? But that is my hand on their hand, or my hand on their paper, physically helping them, right? That would be a physical prompt. And then a verbal prompt would be something like, okay, cut out the square, or okay, keep going, turn the corner, anything like that. That's a verbal direction, even like an encouragement to keep going or to stop. That would be a verbal prompt. Okay.
Great.
Does that answer our question?
Okay. And 3 out of 4 opportunities just means when you sit down and you have that moment that you're working on it, that when you say with a verbal prompt and a physical prompt, that they're able to sit and get the task done. So, so opportunities just means 3 out of 4 times when I ask them to do this and they're presented with the materials that they need, they actually comply.
Right. And I, just as a note, I have never written a goal with 4 out of 4 opportunities.
No.
I've never written a goal with over 90% accuracy on something. I always leave room for that error. And I think that's important too, because I've seen kids, you know, it happens all the time where they're just on it. And then one day they have an off day.
Yeah.
And then, you know, if I have 4 out of 4 opportunities, then I can't count the goal as met. But is that really a good measure of what they can do? No, I don't think so. So that's why we have
I'm
that
not
kind
on
of
it every day. I'm not on it every day. You know, my daughter is, but I'm not. So, you know,
no
the
way.
mastery is considered around 80%, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so this is a very good goal, and then it's benchmarked down into every about quarter, 3 or 4 months. We're looking at that they should be able to. So Al, how would you benchmark this? So if the goal itself is a 1/4 of an inch either way with these prompts, then we're trying to reach that. So where would we start? Where would we start?
Right. So, in order to break the goal down, again, I start off with, okay, where are they at now? And where do I want them to get to?
That's called
And how can
baseline.
I, right, how can I scale it so that this is attainable? So with this specific goal, an example of this is um, I would gradually increase the, well, I would decrease the level of prompting it takes, and I would decrease the margin of error as well.
Yeah.
So for example, my first benchmark that I have for this goal is that Abigail will be able to cut out a 5-inch square within a ½ inch of the boundary lines, and with no more than 2 physical prompts and 4 verbal prompts. So I have more prompting to get the job done, and then with more margin for error, okay? And there's different ways to do that as well, but you wanna look for prompting and the level of error to gradually go down as you're going towards your goal, right?
So independence and then a small level of error. And that's usually how goals are scaffolded or built
Right.
or benchmarked. And so Al, I want to just briefly, and we're just about done, parents. Thank you for hanging in there. I want to let you know that the information that we're giving you today, if you were to go to an IEP advocate, they would charge you $100 for an hour or more than that. But we love you, and we are so happy to share this information that a lot of times is not shared with you freely. And we and your team remember, it's a team effort, and they really want to work with you. Please, I kind of make some comments and stuff, but truly, I would say 99% of the time, the people on your team are trying to help. We're just giving you the language and things you can ask to make sure that you're on the same page and you understand. And Al's going to go a little bit further about this great thing one of her teachers does that you could ask for that would really help. So Al, can we segue into that?
Yes, so this was a wonderful resource that I got from one of the special ed teachers that I work with at my district. And I just really loved how she broke down the IEP goals for her parents for them to understand in a very simplistic way what their goal says and how to work on that goal at home. And it's so cool. So in the document, and again, I mean, this is like a really awesome teacher. It has three columns. The first column is the goal, and that's exactly how the goal is written in the IEP, minus all of the other stuff on the IEP page where you're going, okay, because I don't know about you, but have you ever looked at your IEP goals and then someone has to point out to you exactly like,
oh yeah,
okay, where are we reading off of? It's like, so this is a Word document. The first column is the specific goal that their child is working on. The next column, it says instructions. So she says specific instructions for how to work on that goal. If let's say it's a reading goal, we want like a reading comprehension goal. The instructions would be have Abigail read for 30 minutes every day and write out a few questions in her journal, okay? And then the last column, the third column, says activities and materials. So the teacher goes through, and for the instructions given, she lists what materials you're going to need to work on this goal, and then some extra like activities for how to make it more fun and engaging. Because sometimes you look at a goal like, say, let's go back to our original cutting out a square goal. Like, that sounds so boring, right? Like, how are you going to get your kindergartner to sit down and just like cut out a square, right?
Yeah.
So in the activities and materials, you can, and this is great, like this is what OTs do. You can always ask your OT or whoever it is to help you find creative way to work on this stuff. But in the activities and materials section, she lists different ways to make it more fun and engaging. And part of it, she actually has links that show her teaching the skill that the parent can click on, and it's a little video of, how to work with this on your child. Again, going back to our cutting the square goal, I might provide something like, well, here's some fun coloring pages that you can have them color and then cut this square out. You can tape a paper on the wall and have them cut it out on the wall, just things to make it more engaging, right? But again, those were her 3 columns that she had listed: the goal, the instructions, and then the activities and materials. And this isn't like an official document that you could necessarily ask for from your IEP team, but this is an idea of how to approach your IEP team if you feel like, I have no idea how to work on this goal at home. You could ask for something like, you could say, hey, can you help me break down this goal and give me a list of activities, and then write down how often I need to be interacting with this goal, with my child with this. I hope that gives you some ideas of just how to go about asking your teachers for maybe more clarification or more, creativity for how to work on these things.
Yeah, and that's great. And the other thing that we had talked about is with this goal specifically, I'd like to know as a parent, how often should I be working with my child? So it's good to get from the teacher. And no, it's not an official IEP document, but your teacher would be thrilled to do this for you, because that means that you as a team are getting your kid to the next level. Because let me tell you, as a former special ed director, if I have a whole slew of IEPs that indicate goals are not being met, I am red flagged. So everybody wants these goals to be met and the child to progress. So when it comes to this goal specifically, even just knowing that I should be working with my child twice a day on cutting out a square, wonderful. Just tell me how often, and then tell me what are some other ways to do it. Yeah, tape a paper on the wall and have them do it on the wall. Have them go outside and, use chalk and make a square and, walk around the square, or whatever that needs to happen that motivates my child and motivates me. Come on, parents, I need to be motivated, because it's tough to be at home with your kid 24/7 and be their teacher and their therapist and, all the things that we have to do, and then be a wife and a mother. And a lot of you are working full time too. So these are things that are gold. There's gold in them hills. We've given you the gold. We've passed you the baton. And if you have any questions, specific questions, you can email me at Sandy, Sandy, Robinson.com, or at gmail.com. And I can filter those to Alex. I can field some, but we are here for you because, once again, we love you. And God has so richly blessed us with years of experience and a profession that has taught us well and equipped us. And so we are thrilled to pass on to you the things that we have learned and are continuously learning to make your job easier. We are for you. We are for your child. And we just want to be an advocate and show you how to do that and sharpen those skills, so you feel good as a parent and you feel like you've been given the information that you need to be that warrior for your son or daughter until they can be their own warrior. So Al, do you have any closing comments?
You know what? I've just really enjoyed our time today. Again, if any of you have any questions, go ahead and shoot us an email and we'd love to help you. I think sometimes maybe it's easier to reach out to kind of a third party or someone like us before you reach out to your IEP team. Hopefully that's not true. But if it is, maybe we can help bridge that gap and just be a positive resource for you. But thank you so much for this time. You know, I think, well, I'm praying for all my families that I'm working with. So I'm including you guys in that prayer too, that you guys, just during this COVID time, that we would make the most of it and that our children would learn and thrive in a new way.
Amen. Thank you so much again, Alex, for your gift of time to us.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Until next time.